Hey everyone out there, Brian with Next Level Ag coming at you with this week's weekly update. Going to be a little bit bean focused today because I don't know, there's a lot to watch on beans this year for us. This one here, this was a fun little situation. A customer of ours had let's call it a valve related application issue this spring, and we accidentally dumped about 20 to 25 gallons worth of our AgroLiquid high energy N on with the pre-emerge herbicide right as these babies were emerging. And normally that'd be possibly a really bad issue, but with AgroLiquid's high N being a slower release nitrogen, not all there right away, being a little bit more protected, we were confident that it would survive, which it did. And now they are a fantastic looking field of beans. We will have concerns here as far as white mold later on, just because this plant is so, let's call it, robust, leafy. Let's just say it like it is. They're huge. Huge. This is, what is it? It is July 9th. These are 30-inch rows, and these are some of the only rows closed in this section of land. So they're growing really well. That early shot of nitrogen probably gave these things a boost. I've heard some rumblings about people playing around with early season nitrogen on beans to kind of give them a boost before they start creating their own through nodulation in the root zone. But yeah, this one is a little extreme. So this one we've been watching, keeping an eye on. It's been kind of fun because they have excelled incredibly well. So we'll see how this one comes to the end of the season. If there's a huge bushel increase by that added application, or if it was modest. And then from there, we'll see, okay, maybe we don't need 100 pounds of nitrogen, but maybe we put on 20 intentionally and see what that does. So that's kind of a fun deal we're looking at. Also, I'm just checking out staging on these. They are full flower, which means we're at R1, going to be moving into R2, which is a very sensitive time. Not sensitive. Well, maybe sensitive. Basically, the reproduction is kicking off. The pod set is happening. Reproduction within the plant is happening. It is a great time to be hitting these things with a fungicide of some sort and possibly some nutrition. We've seen great results with that. Keeps the plant health up, keeps disease out, and gives it a boost at a time where it's putting a lot of energy into its actual reproduction, seed set. Yeah, all the good stuff. So be thinking about that. One other thing we do at this time, I try to target R3, which is when that flower falls off of the plant. You have that open cavity on the stem. Things, pathogens or whatever, can get into the plant at that time and cause disease to set in. So that is why I like to target that time for a fungicide, but I like to also pair brown sugar from Max Systems in at that time, because it's late enough in that reproductive cycle that we get really close to the timing of what the next problem would be, which would be aphids setting in. And to try to save an insecticide pass, I like to throw that brown sugar in there, because with the sugar in the plant, the aphids, they get a taste, and either they die or they leave because they just can't metabolize the sugar that we put on there at that time. So it hopefully will give the plant another boost with humic acid and a little energy through the sugar, but also help us save a pass later on and just leave these beans alone and let them do what they do. Also, I'm going to run over to the fields that I showed you side-by-sides of a week or two ago and show you how they've recovered, because they look excellent also. So let's jump on over there. Here we are at side-by-side number 1 versus competitive material and AgroLiquid Iron HPH. This one looks amazing. I believe on the set of pictures that we shared in last week's video, this one was number 3. They look incredible. Everything is recovered. Again, you can't tell which side was which I think for me was the point. We hope to play around with adding nutrient in the future to this in-furrow program with iron, because that's something we have not been able to do as of late using all the other competitive iron materials out there. So hopefully we can start moving the needle on beans in the future, but for now, at least they're green and we can combine them all at the same time. So that's cool. On to the next. Here's the other one, or one of the other ones. I don't feel like walking all the way down there because this ditch is really steep. I don't know if you can tell that. And there's probably water down there. And I forgot to put on my work boots. I'm just wearing the dirty dudes today. See? Yeah, they're kind of dirty. Anyway, the side-by-side is coming along. There is still some yellow in this one, obviously. But slowly and surely, they are getting greener and greener and more robust each week. And again, I say, on that line, I see no line. Another good thing here, even though they're yellow, the leaf tissue or leaf area seems to be just as prevalent as the greener beans behind them. Sorry, trailing off here. So these will recover quite nicely. I don't think we'll have any significant issue or setback on these once it comes time to harvest. So that's another positive note. On to the next. And last but not least, here we are at the final one that we've been showing you pictures on in the past. So to remain consistent, here we are today. There's kind of a funky little bowl here where the side-by-sides come together. Nice and green out on that side. Nice and green out on that side. And nice and yellow in the middle. A little bit weaker canopy on this one as the stress has hung on a little bit longer. But again here, I'm not sure if this flag here is our line or not. It is the only flag out here, but I think that's just an intake. And that's not to prove any sort of point, it's just saying, again, it looks pretty equal no matter which side you pick over here. Further stating that I think Iron HPH did its job. I'm gonna go this way instead. Just wanted to make a note of other things that have been affecting the IDC stress this year. There's been a little less moisture in some areas, a little more moisture in others. There's tillage practice differences at play here as well, because plowed ground will definitely act different than ripped ground. And we even have some ground that's either no-till or strip-till. And all these things can play different factors just on the structure of the soil, the ability of nutrients to go through the soil, compaction layers underneath, yeah, a plethora of different scenarios that come to play here when we're looking at IDC trials. So we try to note all these things. And even one grower that did side-by-sides with Iron HPH and the competitive product, he had two different tillages in the same field, and where they overlapped a little bit, that was the best beans, deep and green and beautiful and whatever. So there's a lot of different things at play. Also, one thing we've noted this year is there is something to be noted about planting date, because one of the worst fields that we've looked at this season was planted early, and there's a few things that I take from that as a negative. I've never been a proponent of early planted beans in this area. I know it works to the south where we get better heat or higher heat earlier in the season, and the soil's lighter and the soil is just ready for beans to be planted in them. Versus up here, we tend to hold on to our cool temperatures longer. The frost takes a little while to get out after a season like we had. And when we plant beans into that scenario, they just sit there. So, what's the point? The guys I know who plant beans early, they're spending another $20 to $30 on treatment so they can take that cold soil and not die, hopefully. So, immediately we need at least 3 more bushel in today's markets to make that pay. And then we saw IDC stress kick them in the butt way harder than later planted beans that were planted into warm soil and that got up out of the ground and were healthy right away. And then beyond that, when we planted the beans early, we put the we put the iron in earlier. And by the time the IDC stress started to hit, the iron, I think, was mostly gone or had been metabolized by the plant already. So therefore, the IDC stress kicked it in the butt again. So we've had some of the longest stretch of ugly bean syndrome that I've seen in the last couple of years. Granted, last year with the moisture, that was a whole different problem. Sorry, big bug. Anyway, that's just a note I have. How about, to make beans profitable, we quit doing things to them that they don't like? How about we put them into warm soil so they come out of the ground quick? And then how about we put iron on them so that they stay alive? And then when the time comes, let's fungicide them and feed them so that they give us a 5+ bushel boost and stay healthy and finish uniformly and give us 50, 60, maybe even 70+ bushel beans, rather than spending $30, $60, $80 on other treatments to try to keep them alive after we tried to kill them. Oh, but I get free replant. Where did that get us? Nowhere. Nowhere. How about let's plant beans, keep them healthy, keep them happy, and not make the cost per acre any higher than it needs to be, because it's already hard enough to make a buck. There's today's rant from Brian. Peace out.